Welcome to another series of our popular webinar, InvestNest, titled Australia's Transformation Champions the Business Insights from an Industry Innovator. I'm Sage from Kalkine, your moderator for today's event. Now, just got some news to relay to you. We've been advertising that there were 2 industry innovators today, but for circumstances out of our control, Mr. Graham Wynn, the founder and director at Superior People Recruitment, won't be joining us today. So we've got the spotlight on Scott Pendlebury from Renovator Store. And just a quick disclaimer as well, before we start the session, let me inform everyone that this webinar is for informational purposes only. It's not a solicitation or recommendation to buy, sell or hold any stock of the company or companies or engage in any investment activity under discussion. We are neither licensed nor qualified to provide investment advice through this platform, just to make that clear and said. Now, well, let's get ready to start with today's exciting webinar. Before we do, we'll just a quick preamble introduction to prepare us for the information Scott's going to relay to us. So post the pandemic, governments across the world were plagued with 2 major issues, you may have noticed, containing the cost escalations and providing a conducive environment for creating more jobs. And for modern day businesses to stay relevant under these macro headwinds, it's crucial to find solutions that help their customers save costs and get the work done in a short turnaround. Now, in this edition of Kalkine Media's InvestNest series, we have with us an Australian company, and they seem to have found the magic ingredient to alleviate their end customer pain points by focusing on foolproof execution. So joining me today is the CEO of Renovator Store, Scott Pendlebury. So without any further ado, let's welcome our first speaker of the day, CEO of Renovator Store, Scott Pendlebury. So,
thanks very much.
Renovator Store. Welcome, Scott. So glad to connect with you again. And I'll just quickly mention one more thing about Renovator Store before I hand it over to you. Renovator Store was founded by Scott Pendlebury himself with the idea of helping Australians get premium renovation products at a more affordable price, and it was started by the CEO, Scott Pendlebury himself, in 2012. I'm so grateful that he's able to join us today. And back in 2012, there was probably no major online presence for building fixtures in Australia, so he's really an industry leader there. It was a kind of void that he wished to fill for Aussies, providing them easy access to the best quality renovation products. So today, after almost a decade, he's here to share some of his insights and wisdom with us from Renovation Store. And it's holding a huge market position at the moment as a trusted digital online store and one of the fastest growing online stores as well for renovation goods. So over to you, Scott, now. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks very much, Sage. Certainly has been a long 10 years, that's for sure, but we're starting to feel the sense that our overnight success has begun. I feel privileged to be here and I think it's a very good time to talk about sourcing renovation products online. Never before have we seen some of the trends in the building and renovation space like we are at the moment. Building materials, building fixtures are all in short supply, so it seems. Builders are very stressed. You know, the ones that were under fixed price contracts are feeling like they can't deliver those contracts now at a profit. Prices for goods are very difficult to predict and they're only going up. So yeah, I'd like to talk through some of the reasons why that's happening and what groups like ourselves are doing to mitigate those challenges and still try to provide a supply of products that's reliable and a set of prices that's still fair. So I'll share my screen if you like, Sage. Right, so look, I'll quickly go through the concept of sourcing renovation products online. Most people are familiar with the traditional sourcing methods through retailers and showrooms, but there is a thriving market out there now to source online, and I want to talk how that happens and how it works. I'll give a quick overview of who we are and the role that we play in that market, and then you know, one of the key factors in keeping the price of goods down is minimizing the cost of doing business. So we'll go through the differences in our business model versus others in the industry and And lastly, what we're doing to mitigate the current market challenges, which are essentially supply and price. So firstly, I just wanted to highlight the difference between building materials and what we call renovation products, which are the fixtures and fittings. So, the builder sources the building materials on a residential build, and the homeowner doesn't really get too involved on that sourcing process. So that's everything from the timber, the steel, the bricks, the concrete, etc. Where the homeowner gets passionate about the sourcing and the selection of the products is the final fixtures and fittings that fit off the home. They're very passionate about the design of those items and also the reliability and functionality of those items. So examples are everything in the bathroom, all the tapware and fixtures and fittings, your kitchen sink, tap, all the storage hardware, of course, all your lighting fixtures, floorboards, handles, etc. So when you do add it all up, there's tens of thousands of dollars to be spent on these items in the average home, sometimes a lot more, and it chews up a lot of time to go around and pick everything. And the average homeowner is very passionate about it because they've got to look at it and use it for decades after it's been fitted. So what's changed in sourcing those products in the market? Look, the old way was to drive around the showrooms, and I'd say still most of residential home builders, homeowners that are building or renovating are still doing that. And it is inefficient. It's a bit of a headache driving around weekend after weekend. It's difficult to compare all the products at once. It's difficult to see all the designs and prices at once. And if you've noticed lately, most retailers don't hold stock. So when you finally make a decision, they'll generally tell you it'll take 2 or 3 weeks for the stock to arrive so you can take it home. So that's the old way. Look, the new way now is to shop on your couch at home. You can use your iPad or your laptop. You can see all the styles, all the prices, everything's transparent. You can achieve in minutes what would take a whole weekend with showrooms. And it's very easy to compare. But the negative, as everyone understands, is you can't physically touch and feel before you purchase. And we'll go through how you mitigate that issue online. And I guess further to that, look, what's some of the key differences between these two models? So that traditional showroom or retail shop, they're paying couple of big extra costs that a pure online player isn't paying. So rent, which is no small amount in Australia, and all the associated property costs, as well as the salespeople that man the retail shops as well. They're two very large costs that an online retailer does not have to entertain. Yes, an online store does have the cost of a website, but that's a fraction of the costs on the left. And lastly, look, a lot of people who are looking to renovate a building get a little bit overwhelmed shopping online for these products. Certainly 5 years ago, it wasn't the norm to buy a kitchen sink on a website. So at the end of the day, we say, look, there's a number of considerations that, basically common sense when you're shopping online. You want to know that the price is fair. It should be lower than what it is in the traditional retail space. Some websites don't even show price, and if they're not proud of their price, I'd steer clear of them. You want to know if the item's in stock or not. I've certainly had issues where I bought things online and then found out that in fact it wasn't in stock and they've got to order it in. So make sure the website says it's in stock. Make sure they've got a service team that you can call. A lot of these products you do want the benefit of having a discussion to understand the product. So you want to be able to call a customer service team and they answer the phone and know their products. The website should give all the information you need to make an informed decision. So quite often it's important with fixtures and fittings that you understand how to install them, what the dimensions are, what the materials are they compliant? Lots of photos from lots of angles. You want to know the items of quality, and that's quite it's sometimes difficult to know that online, but there are bargain basement sites that I'd steer clear of when you're looking for quality fixtures and fittings. It's usually pretty obvious from the customer reviews what the quality of the products are. Shipping is something that you do need to take into consideration. It's part of the cost of shopping online. Are you overpaying for shipping, or is it a fair price or even free? And will it get to you in time? So easy returns is also very important. This is the chance to touch and feel the products at home. So if you're organised and receive your kitchen sink in the mail and you open it up, it's not for you. You want to know that you can put a label on it, simply send it back. So, and lastly, if there's no reviews from an established third party on a website, I'd probably steer clear of it. So retailers that aren't proud of their customer reviews don't put them on there. So, and the ones that are, disclose them. So that's always a space to look for, to see what other customers have experienced on the store. So I guess in summary, if you do take all those factors into consideration, the key tip is if you're organised, you can buy ahead, shop smartly online, order well in advance of installation so you've got time to return items if required. And, if you're surfing all the online stores for your renovation products, take advantage of sales, package deals, rewards. These stores, are high volume. They do go through seasonal and even weekly sales. So looking out for those and taking advantage of them when they happen is another way to save, 10, 20% on your total costs. So given that's the market and it's a very high growth market, who are we and what are we doing in the space? So again, we focus on fixtures and fittings. We're not in the building materials space. And that's essentially everything the homeowner wants to select to fit off the new build. So it's the homeowner that we're speaking to. That's our target market, and their trade in some instances. And a lot of them do pick up the phone and talk to us to get comfortable with the store and the product. And once they've bought once, they're generally a repeat purchaser to the end of their project. And as you mentioned, Sage, we've been in operation for 10 years now. We're based in Melbourne. We run our own warehouse down here. We have thousands of stock lines. Plus, we also offer on our website some special order products from third parties. Basically, what we're proud of is keeping a low cost of doing business, because that translates to lower prices for our customers. And we're also proud of our reviews. So we're averaging 4.6 out of 5 stars, and they're all available through a link on our website. Some of our key categories, basically our key categories cover the whole house. Everything bathroom in terms of tapware, fitting and bathroom heating. Kitchen storage is a big category. So a lot of the cabinetry hardware, innovative hardware for pantries, blind corners, pull-out bins. We're a big retailer in kitchen sinks or sinkware, so all the kitchen taps and the sinks, door handles. We do a variety of custom-made drains for outdoor and indoor, like shower grates, and we've got a full range of indoor and outdoor lighting. So in addition to that, we also do floorboards and a lot of little things that the homeowner doesn't generally think of when they set their budgets for building a house or doing a renovation. So why do people shop with us? We mentioned it before, money back guarantee is very important. That easy return process, and we provide 30 days for people to inspect their products at home. And although returns are quite rare, we're very happy to receive it back for any reason. We keep our costs low, so that means our prices are low and allows the renovator to keep on budget. And if you've had a lot of friends that have done renovation, I've never actually met one that has kept on budget, so that's important. We have a rewards program, which is quite generous. You get 5% back in all your purchases in what's called Reno dollars. Next time you shop, you can use those in your cart to help purchase for the next item. And we run a local customer service team that knows the products, and they're on the phone all day working with customers or customers that come in as well. And one thing I mentioned before, as an online retailer, we're very mindful that we don't have a showroom. So the information we put on our product pages has to be very clear and very comprehensive. I can't show it all here on one page, but for instance, the price and the savings are very clear. We provide information about the shipping timeframe. So this one says it's dispatched within 1 business day. We've got very detailed dimensions. And if you look at the tabs at the bottom, we provide full specifications, all the installation instructions, the warranty details, and the reviews of the product. So generally, that's everything someone needs to make a decision and compare it to other products in the market. So that's the renovation product space and who we are. As I mentioned, one of the key reasons why we can offer our products at a lower price than our peers is keeping the cost of doing business low. So I wanted to share some of the reasons why an online store is able to do that. In our early years, we used to run into the challenge of people saying, you get what you pay for. And everyone's heard that saying. And that used to mean the more something costs, the better its quality was. I would disagree with that statement now, given we've got quite different business models in the retail market. People don't always realize what they are paying for. If you walk into a showroom, as I said, you're not just paying for the product, you're paying for the rent. You're paying for the salesperson, and you're also paying for the 10 people that came in before that used the facility and the salesperson but didn't purchase. So they can get quite expensive. And if you look at the table below, the column with the traditional shop is paying the same product costs as what we are. They both come from the same production line, from the same manufacturers. So we're both paying the same there. The difference is the business model costs. And a traditional retailer who sources in traditional ways is paying a lot of middlemen in their product price. So they don't necessarily see that. They just see the cost of the product. They've got their retail costs, which I've explained, include showroom, salespeople. And they generally want a higher profit margin for the higher risks that they're taking. So whereas us on the right-hand column, we're paying the same for the product, but we avoid all the middlemen. So we don't have that hidden cost in the product. We don't have high retail costs. We're just paying for a website, and we generally don't want a high profit margin because we run a higher volume, lower risk business. And to give more detail on that, I've got, to summarize that, I guess, the middlemen that typically a traditional retailer would have to pay or lose margin to in their sourcing arrangement. There's agents who find products, importers that import them, wholesalers that then wholesale to retailers, and then finally the customer's paying for all that in the price that they see on the shelf. Whereas an online retailer like ourselves, we're direct sourcing and we're online only. So we literally have relationships directly all the way back to the manufacturer. We purchase from them direct, we stock the product, and we deliver it to the customer. So it's a far more efficient, lower cost model. So I want to illustrate some actual numbers. And I've used some numbers from a government productivity commission report for the traditional retailer on the left column. And this is where for a product that would cost $100, the average on traditional retailer is paying $69 for that product, so close to 70% of the price on the shelf. And then they've got costs of $26 in that product just to pay for the showroom, the marketing, the salesperson. So what they're left with is only a 5% profit margin. Very risky business if that $70 price was to go up by $5. we're paying the real cost of the product, which I'm rounding numbers here, but let's say $40. It's a lot less than what the traditional retailer is paying for the product, because we're getting it direct from the manufacturer. We're not paying all the middlemen. Our retail costs are a lot less. All of that can allow us to even have, at times, a greater profit margin on the same product. It also means that we're selling the product for quite often 40% less than the retailer. And that's an average that we see a lot. And we have no shortage of customers that go to traditional retailers, then come to us and say, there are a lot of questions about the products. They're just wondering why it's so much cheaper. And it's exactly the same. So what are some of the problems with that traditional model? And we compete with these companies, so we've looked into this a lot, but they have a reliance on wholesalers, and they have a reliance on the middlemen that source and deliver their products. And with these current market challenges, we see that that's a big problem for traditional retailers, and why some of them are choosing to close their doors. Traditional retailer has very limited price control. So the wholesaler might put their price up, the middlemen might ask for more money. That has to increase the prices on the shelf, because they've got such fine margins that there's no other way to deal with some of those issues. So when a supply chain cost goes up, it's also unclear who takes a hit, but ultimately it's the customer. They've got to pay more. And we're seeing that just about in every product category, but certainly in renovation products at the moment. So those price rises have to be passed on, because the retailer can't reduce their rent. In some cases, they can reduce the number of sales persons, but at a certain point they can't. And they can't divorce their suppliers, because they're relying on them. They've set up, decade-long relationships. They can't just jump to another wholesaler tomorrow. So they are really stuck with what prices are handed to them. And they're also very limited on their control of supply. So if a wholesaler's got a shortage, they've got to choose which retailers are going to service and which ones they're not. So a lot of retailers find that they're left out, because the retailers aren't going all the way back to the manufacturers to buy their stock. They're sourcing them from local wholesalers. So if the wholesaler has a supply constraint, all the retailers they service do as well. That's something we seek to avoid with our business model. So if we come back to the core of, I guess, what you introduced, Sage, at the start, we've got this dilemma at the moment where a lot of Australians' building projects are on ice or on hold, or have massive uncertainty with their budget or their deliverability. So what are we doing to mitigate those challenges? This is a bit of a busy slide, but the fact is we're doing a lot. So I want to go through, in summary of all the things that we are doing. Basically, there's three sets of challenges. There's production costs, which have been going up. There's landing costs, which is, basically importation costs have gone up massively. And Australian dollar and access to finance is very different from what it was 2 years ago. So if we go through that, production costs, raw materials have seen massive increases in the last 2 to 3 years. Even this year, we've seen 20% rises in some of our resources, like stainless steel, that go into the goods that we order. Producers have to pay more to secure stock as well. So it's not just the raw materials. Sometimes they have to do much bigger orders, or put orders in a lot earlier just to secure the volumes they need. So that comes at a cost. Labour costs, in all the European and Chinese manufacturers have gone up massively, which obviously goes into their products. And compliance costs. Australia has great compliance, but it is one of the highest compliance costs in the world, and nothing's been done to reduce that cost other than put it up. So what are we doing to mitigate some of those risks and trends? Some of them we can't change, of course, but we really take a proactive approach and get real information. So unlike a showroom in a suburb, we're talking to the manufacturers directly, the people that run the manufacturing floors. So we can have good, genuine conversations with them about what's happening, what's coming up, what do they foresee. That gives us an advantage in knowing, what's likely to happen in the future. So if they're foreseeing in 2 months everything's going to jump up, we'll be working hard to get an order in now, to so we can get secure stock at a lower price. And we try to get transparency from all those about what's really happening with the cost increases. So, and it's a bit of a, we're seeing the ultimate result of all this in Australia through what we call inflation. But if you talk to the people on the floor that are ordering raw materials that are going to be used in the next 3 to 6 months, you can predict inflation through that transparency. And like I said, we're ordering earlier and we're ordering in bulk to try and secure things at the lower prices, or where we can get a bulk price. And we are focusing what we order in stock now. We're tending to not get more and more and wider ranges. We're looking at the high demand items. So an example of that might be, in the past we might have had 10 different finishes on a heated tail rail to give people choice. We know that 4 of those finishes are 95% of the volume. They're the 4 that we're going to focus on, and that by doing that we can get those at fairer prices. Moving on to landing costs. Again, a lot of this is out of our control, but it's very important to monitor it and understand it. Shipping, especially during COVID, we saw that go up 5 times. The cost of a 40-foot container to be shipped from Southeast Asia to Australia went up from circa 3,000 US, before port costs, to over 15,000 US. That goes directly into the cost of the product. It's unavoidable. And sometimes, it might have cost an extra 5% to get a product to land into Australia. Sometimes that went up to over 50% of the cost of the product. It's very hard to not have that translate into the price for the customer at the end of the day. Unfortunately, all the Australian ports and receiving costs, we never really know why, but they just keep increasing their costs up and up and up. They've probably close to doubled in the last 3 years, which is unfortunate. Everything needs to be insured when it's in transit and before it lands, and that's probably gone up 50 to 60% in the last couple of years. And warehousing locally, it's very hard to get at the moment. If you want to store with the 3PL group, good luck, you probably won't find one. And if you wanted to expand your warehousing at the moment, good luck, because you probably won't get anything at a reasonable price. So that means the cost of warehousing is in demand, so the cost is going up. So what have we done? We really spent a lot of time shopping around on shipping, and sometimes just by waiting a week or negotiating, you can get massive differences in shipping rates through different shipping agents. So we've become a lot more proactive and smarter with that. We only do larger shipments now, so it's bigger containers we can get, as much materials as we can get in it. So doing larger shipments, multiple containers at once, that helps spread all these extra landing costs over more products. It was probably more luck than anything, but we decided a few years ago to self-warehouse. We had been in 3PLs where we store with third-party logistics groups. That's become incredibly expensive now, so we're glad that we're out of that. So we manage our own warehousing and own fulfillment. That allows us to control our costs. Also allows us we've adopted some innovative high-density storage, which means the storage costs for our items is nominal when you look at it on a per item basis. So that's not affecting the price of the goods for our customers. And we just have to plan a lot better. now we have to order items probably 5 months plus before we see them. We have to order them in bulk. So what does that mean? We have to try and predict what people want in 5 or 6 months, what kind of volumes that we need to move. So that requires a lot more planning and forecasting. Most of the time we get it right, sometimes we don't, but I think that's a thing that a traditional retailer just never gets exposure to, because every week they just turn around to the wholesaler and tell them what they need. And lastly, finance and FX, which Kalkine could talk all day about, but as a small business, we've seen the access to finance to buy inventory or cash flow finance has become very difficult to source. It's a lot more expensive than it has been in the past. Obviously, interest rates increasing dramatically. So if you're using finance, it's becoming a lot more costly. As I said, there's a much longer lead time between ordering and seeing the goods. So if you're using finance, then you're paying that finance off sometimes before you even see the goods that it was used to purchase. And lastly, the AUD weakness. I think I wrote this a couple of days ago when it was 65 cents. It's closer to 63 now. So, given it had been as high as 76 earlier this year and a lot higher before that, we've lost, 17% over the course of the year. That means all the goods that you're purchasing offshore, and let's be frank, most items do come from offshore, are costing us 17% more than they were earlier in the year. So that's a big change. Again, we can't control any of these things as a small business. We've just got to have methods to predict them, and we've got to have policies to deal with them. So again, we've become a lot smarter in sourcing finance. I guess one word of advice there is it's probably not worth the time to speak to an Australian bank anymore. There are a lot smarter sources of finance out there, and we work with groups all the time to assist us with that, because a business like us, if we want to double our sales, we've got to double our inventory first, and that requires cash flow, and the cost of that cash flow is important. We work with our producers to try and minimize that time to market. So like I said, if it does take 5 months to get products to us, that's got a cost associated with it in finance. So if you can reduce that 5 months to 2 months by negotiating or having a good relationship or getting in the front of the queue, that can really reduce the financial costs of the products. And lastly, hedging's available, of course, on the Aussie dollar. It's a bit of a gamble sometimes, but we've done well in securing dollars at higher prices when we can, which has mitigated some of that reduction in the dollar. So there's a lot of things on that page, but even a small business like us, we've got to deal with all these risks and have a plan to protect ourselves and our customers. And this is the last page, Sage. In addition to dealing with all those risks, one thing that we started realizing, a number of years ago is that we need to diversify. So that's another way of de-risking the business. So at the end of the day, yes, we look like an e-commerce business externally, but we are actually a products business. We're storing our own products, storing other people's products, we're warehousing them. So rather than just being a retailer to the homeowner market, we do have a wholesale channel as well, which is Vanguard Design Group. So that sells to other retailers, sells to architects, cabinet makers, builders, etc. So that's becoming a big growing part of our business, helps us spread our costs again. We're constantly introducing new brands to the market, which allows us to get cross-sell our other brands. So Highgold's a global brand in 85 countries, now 86. We've brought it to Australia. They're a premium functional hardware business. So we've launched that this year in Australia, and it's just another way of spreading our costs across another business. And DrainTech, We used to import linear drains, shower grates. We've chosen to actually bring that manufacturing in-house. So by doing it more locally, it's faster to the customer, and we're actually finding it's cheaper. So we're removing that importation risk and all the costs of landing and doing that in-house. So we're proud to be a local manufacturer now. And lastly, we work with a lot of other product companies. We're not scared to partner with them rather than compete with them. So they often see the benefit of putting their products on our website. And that, of course, helps us spread our costs again and provides more choice to our customers. And we're pretty good at offshoring as well. So I've got a large team in the Philippines. Some of these people are very talented at what they do. And of course, they come at a lower cost than what they would in Australia. So they're doing a lot of our back office work, like working on the website, some of the digital marketing, our admin and project management. So we've got a very talented team for that too. Again, it keeps the costs of our business low, which keeps the prices for our customers low. And that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Scott, for sharing your insights on that very informative PowerPoint presentation. And I think, to your benefit, really showing us your warehouse in our previous interview we did with Kalkine Media recently was just gave us so much further insight into what you do, where you do it, and how it all just operates so smoothly. So thank you for that and for sharing your slides with us today and all the thought that went into that presentation. Do appreciate it. So now we'll open up the Q&A round. So we've got a few questions coming in. All right, so let's begin with, I've got one here from Anna. Anna, thanks so much for joining us out there. So Anna, Scott's here and we'll direct your question to him now. So Anna wants to ask you, Scott, how do you ensure that the visitors get a great customer shopping experience knowing that you can't talk to them, pitch or demo your products face to face? So I think you did mention this in the slides, but did you want to add anything to Anna to help her understand the process?
Yeah, sure. Well, we often do talk to them. As I said, we run a busy customer service team. So, and a live chat on the website. So the average person does reach out if they've got questions, and sometimes they're early in the buying process. And they want a lot of information. Sometimes they're at the pointy end and they just need a couple of answers before they're ready to buy. So we definitely talk to them. But yes, we're not like a traditional retailer where you've got a salesperson looking over the shoulder and pitching the products and wanting the sales. So the pitch is the website. If you look at the website, it is trying to help you with your decisions and point you in the right direction. The demo of the products, again, we think the product information that we provide gets you very close to that touch and feel experience. If anything, sometimes it's better, because if you do go into a showroom, you can't necessarily turn a kitchen tap on or off. You're just looking at it, and sometimes it's a sample that isn't working. So it's not that different to a website where you can look and rotate the tap, see all the specifications. But at the end of the day, you can look at it when you receive it, and you've got that chance of putting a label on it, sending it back for a full refund. So yeah, I'd say that if the combination of all that, at the end of the day, it's the price is such an attraction for the customer, because it's so different to what they'll find at a showroom, that they can navigate through these items. They can pick up the phone, they can talk to us on the chat, they can order the product and look at it. And if they're smart and they're organized, as I said, they'll generally be saving a lot of money, and they're pretty happy.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for clarifying. Now we'll just take a couple more here, just looking through what's come through. And Scott, someone wants to ask you, can you tell us a bit about how Renovator Store's performance has fared over the last year or so? If you can break that down for us, that'd be great.
Yeah, we're obviously not a listed company, so our information's private, but we've actually seen really good growth in our top line. I think the reason for that, even though we know the sector's probably going backwards overall, because there's a lot of building projects going slowly or on ice, and we've even seen builders go bust. So why do we fare well in that market? I think it's because the average homeowner or end customer is actually looking more deeply or sourcing more smartly than they would otherwise, because everything's so expensive. They're more naturally looking for a better deal, and that's when they find groups like us where they can source a little bit more smartly. So even though the sector's going down, we're enjoying good growth, and I think that's again part of the business model that we've got. But at the same time that sales have jumped in this period, margins have dramatically squeezed. So for all the reasons I said before, so we do have to sell a lot more just to keep our head above the water than we used to. Hopefully things settle down soon, and we capture more growth and things get back to normal. But it's difficult to tell.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. It is a bit uncertain out there in the building and construction industry in Australia with supply chains and everything that you've discussed earlier. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Thank you again for answering the question. So I think part of Australian culture and being house proud and the DIY reality shows really do sort of spur people on to look into how they can make their oasis a little bit nicer for their friends and family to come and visit, and just make it more convenient. And those life hacks, I think, that we discussed in the interview as well, people just want their houses to look like it's well functioning and they know what they're doing and well organized. So can you share with us another question? So we're just wondering, when it comes to renovating houses, funds are a major factor, and that's why people are just being a little bit more deliberate about where they're sourcing their stuff from and doing a lot more research into it. So how does Renovator Store help with this issue, especially in regards to projects being postponed and things like that? Where do you come into play as a supplier of goods and services for renovations?
Speaking to our customers, we're hearing a lot of stories like this, projects that are months, if not even a year or more overdue, or been put on hold. It could be due to the fact that they can't get trade, or they can't get materials, or they can't keep to their budget. As you know, a lot of people, when they embark on a once in a lifetime project like a renovation or a new build, they're pushed to the max with their finances. So they go to the bank, they get some finance, they've got their life savings. If halfway through that project everything jumps up 50% in price and you can't get a plumber to attend, it can be very disappointing. So there's a lot of disappointed and distraught people out there. And I guess, as I said before, in that kind of market, people do look a little bit more widely, or the builder might have said, I always get my kitchen sinks from here. Now they might say, well, I don't think I need to spend $1,000 on a kitchen sink. I've just looked on Google and I've found the same sink for half that. So that's where I think the smart renovator, the smart homeowners, taking more control of the process. They're sourcing more smartly. They find groups like us, and they do start to save money. And I guess we're enjoying helping them on that. We can't help with their ability to go to the bank or get another loan. As we know, with interest rates going up, just a 2% rise in interest rates puts a lot more dollars out the door each month. So people are getting squeezed. So we're hoping that our lower prices and our access to our stock helps them chip away at some of those budget blowouts.
Yeah, and especially you mentioned before, Australia's compliance is really, it's highly regulated and there's fees involved with that. And especially that you can still maintain such cost-effective rates in that environment. I think it really says something, because bargain hunters do have to be careful in regards to the quality of stock they are buying. And you've got to have trustworthy groups like Renovator Store, whose products offer you not only this guarantee that you can send it back if you're not happy with it. But they've just got the reviews, speaks for themselves. They've got an over 4-star rating. So that sounds great. Now, just a couple more, Scott, if you don't mind. They're really coming in here for you. Someone else is asking, how can you entice customers to buy from your website, especially the products you're selling, as sometimes people, or the tradition has been to see them in person in showrooms?
Yeah, I think we've talked about that. Well, first of all, how do we entice them to buy from the website? Look, it's no secret that people go to showrooms to see what they like, get a feel for the items. Maybe they get a little bit shocked at the prices. But look, if they're smart, and the average person is, they then go back home or they jump on their phone and Google it. And it's those search engines that drive a lot of our business. So if we've got a good, reputable website that people give good reviews on, and we do, Google's putting us on the front page when they're searching for these items, and that's how they are enticed to come and shop with us. And once they're on our site, we hope that they're seeing a good range of choice, they're seeing good prices, they pick up the phone. So although they're not personally in a showroom, they're in that virtual showroom of the website. And like I said, the last step is purchase it, make sure you're organized, and look at it in your lounge room, and without that pesky salesperson looking over your shoulder, and you can make a decision to keep it or not. And look, it's very rare for someone to not like it, but sometimes you order something, it doesn't fit the space it's meant to go in, or the finish is slightly different to what you thought you saw on the screen. It's no problem. You put the label back on it and send it back, and for a full refund. So I would have said 5-10 years ago, the average person would have really been quite surprised that you could buy a kitchen sink online, for instance, and shop that way. But I think I'd be very surprised if a smart homeowner didn't do it now, because the price is just so much different. And, for instance, our sinks have free shipping to metro areas in Australia, so there's nothing to lose. To order it, have a look at it in your home.
Actually, just on that note, could you clarify about the fitting? Do you supply the fitters, or is that an additional cost that the customer would have to take care of?
Yeah, it's a good question, because most of our products require installation, and we're the product company. We're not involved with the installation, although we certainly refer. We've got a referral page on our website to local installers that we recommend and we know have good reviews. But most of the time, the homeowner's sourcing the products, giving it to their builder, who then installs it. So as we know, a generation ago, you left most of these decisions up to the builder. The builder sourced your sink and your tap, and you got what you got. Now, I don't know of anyone that would allow that to happen. It's too important a decision. Maybe they've watched several shows of The Block and they know exactly what sink that they want, and they're not going to leave that up to the builder. So they're going to shop around and get exactly what they want, and hopefully feel like they got the best price.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds great that you're coming up on the first page for Google, and if the algorithm's on your side, definitely a good sign. So how do you stay on top of the new technologies and trends of the industry? I mean, you said you've got to try and predict what's going to go on so you can bulk buy and notice what the trends are happening. Is there a particular process you follow for that? Yeah,
that's a good question. Like I said, we have to work harder to predict trends now, and we generally get it right, but not always. Look, it's probably not trends and technologies by industry, it's more by product categories. So, for instance, in the bathroom, we could see pretty early on that we needed to go expand all our ranges into sort of that brushed brass finish and brushed copper that a lot of people are looking for now. So remember, it takes 5-6 months to get these items in stock. And if you've got to get a new, let's say, tap complied, that can take 6 months as well. Even though the test only takes 20 minutes, the processes in Australia can take that long. So The average shopper doesn't realise what's in the background to present these products to the market. But yeah, we're trying to think of that product by product category. And another area is functional hardware. So that's like pull-out pantries, pull-out magic corners. We've got to try and predict what sort of styles people want to see in new kitchens these days. And we worked with the producers and the brands to come up with, very matte black sort of hardware that when they pull it out of their kitchen, even though it's hidden behind a cabinet, it's very, very smart when they do open their pantry or their cupboard and pull out the unit. So, that was a big win as well. We've got to try and predict these trends in the future. Otherwise, we'll be left with stock that doesn't move, and that ultimately, affects the cost of our business.
Absolutely. Now, Scott, we'll start to wind up now. You're obviously going through a wonderful growth phase here, and hopefully it does continue on for you. You've mentioned that you're pretty much Australia-wide, and you've also, are you planning on shipping internationally as well? Is there any plans for that in the next 5 years?
We do have a New Zealand website, so renovatorstore.co.nz. We service the New Zealand market from Australia, so shipping's more expensive for the customers on that site. But again, they don't have anything like this in their market, so it's quite popular. As for international, we certainly get orders here and there for different places. But yeah, if you know the way that couriers and Australia Post work in this market, it's not easy to ship economically from Australia to overseas markets. So it's a bit of a barrier for us. It's not our biggest opportunity for growth at the moment. We still have a long way to go in this market.
Great. Well, it sounds like it could be an excellent 5 years are coming up, maybe 10 years, who knows. So far, the last 10 years sounded that they've been very good to you. Scott, before we start to end up this webinar, would you like to add anything else?
I'd sort of say to especially the homeowners and builders that are facing the dilemma of frozen contracts and projects that are uncertain or on hold, that I think there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. We're already seeing some producers come back to us and offer slight discounts for volume purchases. So maybe they are seeing their volumes reduce, too much now with the price rises that they've passed on. So some of that might be reversing, which is good. And shipping rates have started to come back. So they were ridiculous during the end of COVID. Some of them have come back quite a bit. So they're certainly not back to pre-COVID levels, but these are all signs that there's some sensibility happening. I'm still concerned about the access to raw materials, etc. But as long as we remain smart and focus on all those mitigants I listed, we can deal with that.
Thank you so much, Scott. Yes, it's going to be interesting to see whether Australia and China can work out some deal about the steel trade that used to be quite profitable for Australia. And hopefully the war in Russia will finalise. That's just been going on for way too long. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you again, Scott, for sharing your insights with us. We really do appreciate your time. As always, it's wonderful to connect with you. And on behalf of Kalkine Media, I'd like to extend my gratitude towards everyone for attending today and for listening to Scott's insightful findings with us from running his business for 10 years now, Renovator Store. And on this note, we'd like to also hope that you found it informative. And if you've got any further questions, you can send that across to us. And we are contactable on info@kalkinemedia.com. And if you'd like to delve into further study into the equity and markets, we at Kalkine do a lot of research here with the analysts who are hard at work, coming up with articles and the writers, and it's all up on our website, which is updated regularly. And that is www.kalkinemedia.com/au. Also, you can visit our equity research website. Now, this is slightly different. It's www.kalkine.com.au. And stay tuned for more of these Kalkine Media Invest Nest webinars. There'll be another one next month without doubt. And we're very active on our social media platforms, so do interact with us. We'd love to hear from you. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Have a look at one of our videos and we'd love to see your names up there in the comments. And as we say, stay apprised and invest wise. Hope your day goes well. See you later.